presence of hoodlums amongst protesters could be a reason why army opened fire on the protest ground. Welcome to the news, and thank you for tuning in to listen. It is no longer news that the Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry on the Endsars protest has affirmed that the Nigerian army troops actually massacred protesters at the Lekki toll gate in the 2020 Endsars protest. Reacting to the report, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabor, indicated that the armed forces of Nigeria are all professional armed forces and are being peopled by Nigerians as well. He pointed that Nigerians should not be making the disparaging remarks regarding the armed forces of Nigeria at this point because the Nigerian armed forces are all professional armed forces. On this note, forms the basis of my opinion, which is of the view that the presence of hoodlums among protesters could be the reason why the Nigerian army opened fire at protesters, because a professional army like the Nigerian army cannot just open fire at protesters without having a cause that triggered a gunshot. According to Brigadier General Ahmed Taiwo, who testified before the panels days after the incident, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State invited the Nigerian army to the state to forestall the anarchy that ensued in the whole state from October 18, 2020, and not specifically for protesters at Lekki toll gate. Ahmed explained that the governor also imposed a 24-hour curfew in the state to provide the Nigerian army a clean timing to deal with the hoodlums when citizens must have cleared from the streets. On this note, the curfew, which was supposed to commence from 4 p.m. on October 20th, was later adjusted to 9 p.m. so that citizens can clear off the streets. However, the later adjusted timing was not communicated to the Nigerian army, and before then, the Nigerian army had already deployed the 65 battalion under the 81 Division garrison to forestall all further violence and loss of lives. In this regard, some of the Nigerian soldiers were also deployed to the protest ground because of the presence of hoodlums that were perceived to have hijacked the protests. Suggestively, the presence of hoodlums in the state that hijacked the peaceful Endsars protest to wreak havoc in Lagos State could be a reason why the Nigerian army opened fire in the protest ground. I doubt that any army officer would ever try to shoot at peaceful protesters. The presence of hoodlums among protesters was the sole reason that the gunshots they were fired at the protest ground. Now, this is not, oh my goodness. This is you coming out to defend pure evil. Anyone in Nigeria would tell you that the protest at that Lekki toll gate was peaceful until that particular night. Anyone who tells you otherwise, I tell you the person should be taken to a treatment, to a psychiatric facility. No, jokes apart. That particular protest in Lekki toll gate, I'm going to say this now, that particular one was peaceful. They were peacefully doing their protest. They were not doing anything that is going to say will spark violence. No. People were calm and peaceful until that particular incident. And let me say this, it was because that particular incident happened on October 20th that gave hoodlums the right to come out. Some of them came out of anger, but the anger, I don't know who they directed it at. You are directing it to destruction of properties, to stealing. In fact, that one is a story on its own. But you see this particular protesters, it was peaceful. The protest was peaceful before that shooting. It was after the shooting now that hoodlums hijacked it. That particular Lekki toll gate protest, it was peaceful. Anybody saying otherwise, hey, we are not supposed to allow people to say to you, may you experience this so. Sincerely, you should avoid it because it is better imagined than experienced. If you are there, not even there, If you saw the live video, the terror, the trauma, do you know what those people who witnessed it firsthand, do you know the trauma they have been in? Like, they will ask themselves how they found themselves in such will I call this a country now? A country that fires and shoots as peaceful protesters. Why don't you reason? Why don't you be reasonable enough? Intelligent persons will read what you wrote before you write. If your children or child were to be among those killed, would you still defend evil? Ask me. Ask me. Oh. Everywhere was calm and peaceful before the shooting. The government must take responsibility for all that happened afterwards. Exactly my point. Everywhere that particular Lekki toll gate protest was peaceful ever before the shooting. It was after the shooting that it was hijacked by hoodlums and thugs. That shooting dispersed the protesters. After they mourned, they weep, the one that could be rushed to hospital was rushed. Then hours later, or the following day, that is when the destruction started. And I can tell you of a fact that these people are not among. Yet the same army did not and has decidedly refused to see hoodlums among heavily armed imported foreign mercenaries all over the northern Nigeria to open fire on. Okay, exactly. This is exactly what I'm saying. The army will shoot at peaceful protesters but will not shoot at bandits. The army will shoot at peaceful protesters but will not shoot at Fulani herdsmen. Have you ever heard that a Fulani herdsman was shot at by the Nigeria? Have you ever heard the news? It is to see the pure evil that is going on in this country. This particular article, the writer, in fact, you are just very, very, how am I going to, it is better you are not even seen. they don't get to see your face. They will drag you. This is painful. It is very, very painful. The Nigerian army got order from above to shoot, not because of any hoodlums. The protest is a well-organized protest to the extent that they make sure that nobody is allowed to disrupt the protest, not until the Nigerian army and Nigerian police came and started shooting at armless protesters. Exactly. Exactly. I remain, look, this one is not a stand to be corrected though. That particular protest, as far as Nigeria is concerned, was peaceful, remained peaceful. A protest where nobody was saying Nigeria, and nobody was saying Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, Efik, TV, Urobo, Benue. Nobody was saying Ijo. Nobody was saying Ibibio. Nobody was saying that. Nobody was saying you're a Christian, you're a Muslim. The Christian had their prayers, and when it was time, the Muslim, everybody came together, and you were telling me that protest that was that organized? No. There was nothing as such. I pray at the end of the day, the real justice now is served by this, whatever this protesters we are protesting about was given and is given. And Nigeria is made a place that is habitable for its citizens. On this note, we have come to the end of the news. We say thank you for tuning in to listen. Until I come your way next time, enjoy the rest of the day.